The Sunday school lesson for September 29th, 2024 is based on Exodus chapter 15, verses 1 through 3, verses 11 through 13, verses 17 through 18, and verses 20 through 21. Time to party. Welcome, viewers and subscribers, to my channel, The Backstory and More. I am Audrey. If you are interested in knowing what happens before each Sunday school lesson, you are at the right place, because I will share the backstory, read the lesson text, and offer a brief lesson summary. The backstory. The song in today's lesson comes from the book of Exodus, which is part of the Pentateuch, another name for the first 5 books of the Old Testament. These books have been traditionally attributed to Moses because he was well educated, Acts chapter 7, verse 22, and skilled at detailed record keeping, Exodus chapter 17, verse 14, chapter 24, verse 4, and Numbers 33 and 2. The events of the Exodus are traditionally dated to 1447 BC. Long before then, God had promised the land of Canaan to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Genesis chapter 13, verses 14 through 15. The fulfillment of the promise seemed to be in jeopardy when Jacob and his family moved to Egypt because of a famine. Still, God worked through Joseph, a son of Jacob, so that the family could have all it needed during the years of famine. Chapter 41, verses 53 through 54. Over the centuries, the Israelites witnessed significant leadership changes in Egypt. Eventually, there came a new king to whom Joseph's reputation meant nothing. Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. The original favor Jacob, or Israel, and his sons experienced changed into servitude and oppression. After the Israelites spent 430 years in Egypt, God was ready to act to fulfill the promise. Chapter 2, verses 23 through 25. It was during this time that Moses was born. It is well known that a princess of Egypt adopted him, but he had to flee Egypt at age 40 after killing an Egyptian. Exodus chapter 2. 40 years later, Moses encountered the Lord at Sinai. God repeated the promise given to Moses' ancestors and called him to lead the enslaved Israelites away from Egypt. Exodus chapter 3, verse 8. God worked through Moses and Aaron, Moses' brother, to bring about 10 plagues that devastated Egypt. At that point, Pharaoh expelled the Israelites from Egypt. It had been 430 years to the day since Jacob and his family entered Egypt. Chapter 12, verses 40 through 41. As God's people left Egypt, they were reminded again that their destination was Canaan. Pharaoh, however, changed his mind and decided to bring his labor force back. The Egyptians pursued Israel to the edge of the Red Sea. It seemed that the Israelites were blocked by the sea, and victory for the Egyptians was assured, but God had other plans. The Israelites crossed the Red Sea safely after the waters parted, but the Egyptians drowned when they tried to follow. The God of Israel was superior to any of the fictitious gods of Pharaoh. The crossing of the Red Sea was pivotal in the history of ancient Israel. The enslaved Israelites were free beyond the reach of Pharaoh. Moses and the people responded with joyous singing. Exodus chapter 15, verses 1 through 21. The first song in the history of this new nation is a song of rejoicing because of the victory that the Lord has obtained for the people. We note a minor difficulty in finding an appropriate designation for this song. Some students of the song have created designations for this song. These designations include a song of the sea, Exodus chapter 15, verse 1, a song of Moses and Miriam, chapter 15, verses 20 through 21, or a song of Moses and Israel, Exodus 15 and 1. Another song designated as a song of Moses can be found in Deuteronomy chapter 32. The backstory ends here, and today's lesson begins with the next slide. Verses 1 through 3. Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will praise him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a warrior. The Lord is his name. Verses 11 through 12. Who among the gods is like you, Lord? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in glory, working wonders? You stretch out your right hand, and the earth swallows your enemies. Verse 13. In your unfailing love, you will lead the people you have redeemed. In your strength, you will guide them to your holy dwelling. Verses 17 through 18. You will bring them in and plant them on the mountain of your inheritance, the place, Lord, you made for your dwelling. The sanctuary, Lord, your hands establish. The Lord reigns forever and ever. Verses 20 through 21. Then Miriam, the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her, with timbrels and dancing. Miriam sang to them, Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. A brief summary. Apparently, the Israelites remained encamped near the Red Sea for several days. During this time, Moses composed a song of praise to God. This is the first of three Mosaic songs, all of which speak of God's intervention on behalf of his people. Deuteronomy 32 is a song that precedes crossing into the land of promise. Psalm 90 seems to refer to both of these events and more. The miraculous crossing and deliverance at the Red Sea was pivotal in the history of ancient Israel. The defeat of Pharaoh's army is distinctive, for it is certainly not the norm for a cavalry force to be hurled into the sea during battle. Moses was aware that the victory over the Egyptians belonged completely to the Lord, who is a warrior. The Israelites had nothing to do with it except that they were running from the Egyptians. In their arrogance, the Egyptians boasted that their lust for violence would be satisfied. They would gorge themselves on the Israelites. But instead, they sank like lead into the mighty waters. The body armor that the Egyptians hoped would protect them caused them to sink to the bottom of the sea like a stone. Verse 5. Who is like you, Lord? He permits no rivals and is victorious over all the gods of Egypt. A result of Israel's deliverance at the Red Sea would be that other people will hear and tremble. Terror and dread will fall on the potential enemies of the Israelites who lived along their path from Mount Sinai to the Promised Land, Philistia, Edom, Moab, and Canaan. Another result of Israel's deliverance was the assurance that God would bring his people to his holy dwelling and to the mountain of his inheritance. Although this could simply refer to the Promised Land, it might point to the future tabernacle at Shiloh and ultimately to the temple on Mount Zion. Miriam is designated in two ways, as the prophet and as Aaron's sister. Based on her comments in Numbers 12 and 2, the term prophet is appropriate, for she indicated there that the Lord had spoken through her. Though Miriam was also Moses' sister, she evidently ranked only with Aaron and not with Moses. Miriam and all the women used their small drums and rhythmic dance to provide a refrain to the song of Moses. Miriam's vocal response echoed the words that opened the song in verse 1. The implication is that Miriam led the other women in a type of antiphonal singing. Thank you so very much for watching. Join me soon for the next backstory and more. Stay safe and may God bless.